Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaRakakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders, great mill, son of Ruwal. Shalom to the brothers in the work, sharing truth. Wanted to kind of cover this, attack that happened on the Danish Prime Minister. Because basically you've had, these political tensions kind of building, and it's kind of like centered around the two main things right now is the state of Israel and Palestine, and then other side is Russia and Ukraine, which you've had both of these things heating up in like the past week. You had another offensive done into Ukraine. And then you had, the controversy of different countries' munitions basically being used to hit into Russia, which, Russia's been saying they're going to get back on. So you've had that, and then with, the state of Israel as well, you've had that push where it's been getting peaked. And it's heated up, it's boiled up again. And, now you have something similar, which, it's a politician getting attacked in the street, which, as far as to the degree to which it could be false flag, could be various things. It's as far as I've looked into it, it's I'm not too I ain't gonna make a claim on it. But it's on Yahoo News from AFP. It says shaken Danish PM cancels appointments after street attack. It's a Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen on Saturday cancelled her appointments after suffering a whiplash injury in a street attack that left her shaken. Frederiksen's office, I think you had it's not really in the same fucking ballpark, but you had Nigel Farage get a fucking milkshake dashed at him, which that's what people were doing, just chucking milkshakes at these men. But that might just be something where they say like, okay, this might be classified as assault. Because I think when it was happening before, it wasn't even like they didn't know. I don't know if they arrested it. So what happened to him? It's like you saw the clip, then the girl just walks off and no one really stops her. But if they make it a thing where it's like, okay, if you're doing, if you're in a public office, someone does these things, they might tie greater consequences to it, which is possible, and then that could kind of lead down the line to further things. But as far as with these with these attacks, that's usually what it is. It will come something in the form of legislation to further the agenda going forward. They said Frederiksen's office told the AFP that she'd been taken to a hospital for a checkup after the attack on Friday evening in a Copenhagen square. The assault has caused a minor whiplash injury, it said, adding the Prime Minister was otherwise safe but shaken by the incident, and that Saturday's schedule had been cancelled. French President Emmanuel Macron on Saturday became the latest European leader to denounce the attack as unacceptable. I strongly condemn this act and wish Mette Frederiksen a speedy recovery. Danish police on Saturday said a 39-year-old man will be brought before the Copenhagen District Court for questioning to decide if he's to be remanded in custody. What can I say? We'll see where it shakes out. So I said the hearing is expected at 1 p.m. and we held in Copenhagen, they added. Two witnesses, Marie Adrian and Anna Raven, told newspaper BT they had seen Frederiksen arrive at the square where they were sitting by a nearby fountain just before 6 p.m. on Friday. A man came by in the opposite direction and gave her a hard shove on the shoulder, causing her to fall to the side, the two women told. Oh wait, so it's just a push. A hard shove on the shoulder. They added that while it was a strong push, Frederiksen did not hit the ground. They described the man as tall and slim and said he had tried to hurry away, but had not got far before being grabbed and pushed to the ground by men in suits. So he's just dashed there. It's kind of funny because that's not really like on the same kind of scale. I mean, over here we had like, what's her name, Joe Cox, I believe it was. She got fucking she got blown away in the street. Like it was fucking wild. And but you know, these things happen, and then usually it results in some form of legislation. That's where it goes. So I said the attack was widely condemned. So I said, what the incident follows a spate of attacks on politicians from across the political spectrum at work or on the campaign trail in Germany ahead of this week's EU elections, with Danes headed to the polls for their vote on Saturday. You know, I think there's been the EU votes this week as well. Because I say, Danes head to the polls for their vote on Sunday. On May 15th, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico was shot 4 times at close range as he greeted supporters, and I think that's probably why it's more of a thing, because that guy got fucking legendarily assaulted, like, which is kind of wild. But then that just shows how all these tensions now is pushed up to where it's you know, it can get manic very easily. Because even now there's, you know, people are protesting for Palestine, and that's been like the biggest back and forth, like cultural, political kind of back and forth that people have been, you know, contending over for a minute. So it's you know, these things are picking up, and it's really, you know, that's just becoming a normalized climate to where now it's not even really noteworthy to have, you know, some big political upheaval, some big, you know, violence as well. People getting violent over it. That's become normal. It used to be a rarity. It's like, oh shit, this shit went down because of this. It's like, oh, why'd it happen? Now it's like it's very, very common. But that's kind of shows a switch in mindset. Because as far as like people in general are more invested in these things. And it's funny because it's like a lot of these situations aren't even impacting people in real life. They're not even you know, they might not, or they ain't been sent off to war yet. But then you have what? You have been discussed. It's funny, in the UK it's been discussed multiple times. It came up again about conscription, about doing like a set 2 years of what do you call it, of military service. And that's something that a few countries do. It's like countries that are at war, like what do you call it, it's still at war. South Korea is still at war with like North Korea technically. They have that mandatory conscription. So over here they've been talking about it, and people aren't feeling you know, positively towards it, obviously. But then it's something that could get pushed very easily, especially because you've had Putin, you know, basically send shots at the UK, at London specifically, multiple times, saying like, yo, he could strike. And then that's something that can become, well, a justification for like, okay, we need to have a certain level of you know, of active troops. And it's because army recruitment, not even just in the UK, just in general, I think globally, army recruitment has been on a downturn. Because they said, like, I know in the US they missed it, over here in the UK as well, they missed like the recruitment numbers, and people ain't fucking really thinking about doing that shit in the slightest. So all these things can kind of, well, this whole political climate, you know, can be edging people towards where it's like these things are seen as justified, and people will be like, okay, yeah, fuck it, I guess we'll deal with it. That's kind of like the mindset shift, basically towards that wartime mentality. Because just like, you know, World War II, so you watch movies about it, you see, you know, I remember when I was younger reading like books about that shit. This is kind of funny because I remember I was like under the age of 10, reading about shit that happened in like World War II, how fucked it was, how there was no food, how man had to just go off to the countryside, the bombings, all that. There was a kind of awareness about it. As it is now, people are very disconnected from those things. Like from even like, I remember like Iraq War and whatnot, a lot of these conflicts have been just like overseas, and people ain't really been involved. And even now with like social media where you can see these things in real time, real quick, it's still not, a reality to them. For a lot of people, it's kind of just like they're still dealing with it as a Hollywood movie or something. But then, as the reality kicks in, if they get fucking conscripted and shipped away, then there'll be all kinds of fruit. And that'll, shift the mindset. You might have the MOTB link up with that, where it's like, okay, if you have to engage with the system if you want to avoid, getting conscripted and shipped out to go get your head blown off. I read the 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes." So yeah, so it says, "Woe to the world, destruction to the world, and what? The sword and their destruction draweth nigh. One people shall stand up and fight against another." And we're in the midst of that, to where it's like, these wars, everyone's on the cusp of anticipating, like Taiwan and China. China's been doing war games, pushing out propaganda, basically, preparing people's minds for like, oh, when we're justified in going there and taking it over. But then Taiwan has big international presence, because why? Because of the sea hips they make, man. They produce like some of the highest global quality sea hips. So then yeah, it's like with these things all being pushed out, it's all contention, man. It's all sedition. It's all, people coming against one another, and that's gonna remain the norm, man, and intensify. He said, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So yeah, they're gonna act as they will and as they decide and believe. Because why? They're just gonna be following through on what they desire to do. They're gonna be thinking in their mind like, yo, fuck this, fuck these people. And that's how the mindset a lot of people are in. It's funny because I kind of like, especially in London. London's very left wing. It's very Labour voting, and so they've been very much against the current government. The government has been in since like David Cameron. But then it's like the way these things are discussed now is in a more like, let's say, revolutionary manner, man. The way they kind of discuss these things, they're thinking like, yo, they'll be justified in doing a madness. But that's just the mindset. That's the spirit that's being pushed out. Everyone's basically being drawn into that mindset. So as and when these things take place, it's going to be peak. He said, "What a man should desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, the men shall be afraid." So yeah, basically it's going to be to their own demise why they're drawn into these things. This was to say Isaiah 24. Let me start from 2, and it says, "And it shall be..." Oh, wait. No. Okay, yeah. Let me read this. Revelation 12 and 12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." And yeah, this is why you're seeing everything intensifying. We're seeing, as far as for the MOTB, the micro C, that's something that's been pushed, been intensified. We're actively seeing those things be tested and put out. Various companies working on it. The main one, Neuralink, also expanding, doing more. So I've seen it, as far as for the conflict, as far as for like, the mindset of the people, to where they're really resistant to a lot of things that are basically going down. They're going to be clamoring for some form of peace, some form of relief from everything that's basically going down. Because why? It's like now it's become chaos. chaos and chaotic situations are just the norm. That's just the mindset. That's how people are thinking. View normalcy right now. But then and the thing is in the Western world, it's at a distance. But then that's something that can very easily, that gap can be closed, and it's going to be peak. Because everything's already been, the dial's been cranked up, and it's really like it's like a dry, collection of firewood and kindling. One spark, and it can just all go up, and it's really that with like the flip just being switched. Like you can have people going crazy out in the streets. Big conflicts can just kick off easily, like global conflicts. You can really feel it's like in Revelation when it says the 4 winds are being held back. You got the 4 angels holding back the winds. That's really what you got. You got the wind of that destruction being held back, but not for too long. 1 Thessalonians 5. I'll start from 1. It says, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety," but of the times there's no need to write, because the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night. People are really not assuming, not expecting. They're not thinking or looking at the coming of the power of the Bible, man. They're not looking at the return of Yahushua, a so-called black man, returning to come and take over the world. That's something that could not be further from their minds. These guys are thinking about, where their next holiday is going to be. They're thinking about the changes they're going to be able to make in their life. They're thinking about the plans they put in place. They might be thinking about, okay, I want to have X amount of kids. I want to move to this location. I want to go and see X amount of countries in the world. These guys are thinking about those things. They're not thinking about conflict, war, World War III, the implantable micro C-hip. These are not things on their mind, man. They're not, which is why it's all going to come as a shock. It says for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Yeah. When they'll say peace and safety, when they think everything's cool. And really that's a mindset people have been lulled into. Things have become so normalized, and it's really only normal as far as for them, because they're disconnected from a lot of the conflict that goes on in the world. People in the Western world, you can basically be disconnected. You don't really have to pay attention. You could just be like, okay, you can go out, party, visit places, eat, have a good time, go on holiday, just go to resorts and whatnot, and enjoy life. And then very little of the actual things going on in the world will impact you. But then even though that's happening, there's people that were doing that, and they might have been in the Gaza Strip when that shit went down. They might have been in Ukraine when that shit went down. So it really seemed like everything was peaceable, everything was cool. Then it's, as far as you see, it just seems out of nowhere. It just got fucked up. Sudden destruction. As travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Yeah. That's really how things are going down as far as for most people. But then, for us, we're going to be caught in that. I'll finish on this. Behold, Isaiah 24:1, it says, "Behold, the Lord Yahweh maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant." Everything's basically being flipped on his head. Because as far as for now, this is the final tale of those kingdoms, those rulerships of the heathen, where they're basically being ruled in wickedness, and they're really part of that same statue. We're now at the feet and the 10 toes. And then, when it comes to what comes after was what? Something to pulverize the entire statue, then establish itself as a mountain in the kingdom of heaven. That's what's being established, what's being built up, which is why what? Everything can be turned upside down. This current rulership where wickedness has basically been at its zenith is going to be completely inverted and flipped to where righteousness is going to be at, its height. Because what's it saying? It shall be with the people, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord Yahweh has spoken this word. Yeah? Just all levels, all layers are going to feel this. There's not going to be anyone where they just get to, skirt away scot-free. Everyone's basically going to have a part to play. Everyone's going to be tried. Everyone's going to be tested. So what? The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish, yeah. Everyone's basically, decaying, worsening, lessening. Because why? This place is getting ready to be done away with, man. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they've transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant, yeah. So basically what this world is ordered under is completely against everything the scriptures stand for. It's all wickedness that's been established. And then, that wickedness is intensified as well. Because you go from the head of gold to now you've got a level of confusion and destruction has, been visited upon the world itself and the people, to where it's incomparable. It says, what therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate, yeah. And because of that, all those changes, all those shifts, same thing as why, the so-called JOO, these, state Israel, why those people over there are catching so much hell is why. It's because, they're in the land, the chosen land, being completely backwards, man. The opposite of upright. So all that hell's being visited on them. Same as what happened with, the heathen that got brought in. Or they were doing their madness and they needed to get corrected by the Levitical priest, the one priest sent in there basically to show them how to live so they wouldn't get jacked up, man. But then what? That's that jacked up state, that confused state, that's everyone. Everyone in the world now. They're all wandering after the beast. They're all, simplistically following it. But it then is being drawn into what? Their destruction, man. Along with displacement. And that's why you see, I'm like, hey, look. Like politicians getting attacked is, it was the shove. Ain't that peak, but regardless, it's something that is being pushed, and it's basically making a pattern to where they might be like, okay, we're gonna intensify. If you do X, Y, Z to an EU MP, then you get recompense, and that's usually where you see these things manifest. Same with, you've had it over here in the UK with the protests. You've had the protests intensify, then the responses to it, the police get more powers. And that's become normalized. Like, it happened twice. So, these things, hey, they're getting pushed. They speak. It says, what? Therefore the curse hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. Yeah, that's how it's going to result in that mass destruction, man. That big judgment, that fire, that cleansing by fire. That second death after the first cleansing by water. During the flood. Just as back then wickedness overtook the earth, same things happen now. But it's not going to be just Noah and his house that get saved through it. It's going to be a destruction that is going to be immense. But then what? It's the main place is going to get torched, is Babylon the Great, man, at North America. But in other places on the earth, it's gonna be peaked for a minute. Until what? You know, until the elect come down and put things in order. It's gonna be an immense judgment, man. People are gonna be all kinds of fruit. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom.